Tell us a little bit about what you saw and being able to relay that message to Cora when you watched Kimbrel pitch and kind of help out so he wasn't tipping his pitches.
So tipping pitches, we hear about it all the time.
People at home understand what tipping pitches is all about.
It's amazing.
And that's remarkable.
Alex, I'd like to start today's podcast by offering some kind words of advice to our friends out there in the world podcasting about the sport of basketball. You know, we've fought many wars here on the Tipping Pitches podcast. We've, of course, fought the war against Rob Manfred and his silence on Woodstock 99. What else have we fought a war against?
Communism, notably.
You're signing on to the petition with the centrist Dems in the House? Yes, and we fought
First
a war.
they came for the centrists.
And I did not speak up because I don't know what that means and what you stand
and
for.
don't know any of them either.
And we've also fought a very important war, and I feel like we've been doing great work on the fighting of this war against using the word analytics without describing what you mean.
Right, yes, yeah.
Which I don't know if you've seen, I don't know if you're on these parts of the internet, has been quite a point of discussion over there on basketball Twitter.
Has it?
Yeah, I'd like to play a clip for you.
Game 4, I guess we lost analytically. I know we won analytically, so analytically speaking, we weren't there for Game 5. So I think technically they're up 3-2, analytically speaking.
We know how you feel about analytics.
There's a lot of things that analytics don't show or don't take into account. You know, I just always thought analytics for like geeky, unathletic white guys that wanted to be a part of the league, but just couldn't make it playing basketball. So they decided to put math into the equation. That's always how I felt analytics. So
I wonder who people are going to think you're talking about, because I feel like there's probably a lot of people that fit into that, huh?
Probably. Shout out to our Dapo. You know, he's our black analytical guy on our team. So shout out to him. But yeah.
Does it comfort you to know that they're, and by they I mean the basketball podcasters, are experiencing exactly what we experienced for the last 5 years, talking about baseball on the internet?
Frankly, it comforts me knowing there's a black analytical guy on the Knicks, because that does assume the existence of a white analytical guy on the Knicks.
Who Josh Hart doesn't like.
Who Josh Hart doesn't like.
Right, exactly. Josh Hart violating one of the founding rules of the Tipping Pitches podcast and the banned topics.
He doesn't know.
Are we violating a banned topic by talking about someone talking about a banned topic?
Hang on a second.
That was too much for you. I'm
that
sorry.
Was
let
too
me walk
much
that
me.
back. Let me go a
It's
little
Sunday
slower.
evening. I'm like, whatever that means to you. That's all I had there. It's Sunday evening. So I don't know. I feel like Brunson's more of a Tipping Pitches listener.
You think so?
I
don't get that vibe from him.
You don't?
No. I get honestly more of a sneaky conservative vibe from him.
Sure, but Hart more so.
No, you know, Hart has some interesting political tweets.
Right. Well,
in his past. They're kind of lib coded.
You saw the one about the reading the Bible in classrooms. And he's like,
Yeah,
you know.
we chalk that up to he grew up very religious.
Do we?
You know, he went to Villanova. Maybe he wants them to live the Jesuit way down in Texas. I could get behind that. The Jesuits are all right.
Way.
What do you know about the Jesuits?
Nothing. Tell me.
Keep it that way, I guess. This is just, I find it funny because, you know, the big bang of this discussion, the public discussion of analytics, was Moneyball, obviously, which is a baseball thing. And we have been waging these wars in the discourse mines. You know, where you fight wars in the mines. It's not enough to fight it on a battlefield. We have to go down into the caves
in the mines
and fight each other down there.
Crazy.
Add a little layer of danger to the whole situation. We've been waging these wars in the discourse mines forever, it feels like. And yet still we have the Eric Hosmers of the world making storylines out of it. So I hate to say this, NBA podcasters, listening to this right now. But batten down the hatches. You
Yeah,
got like at
strap
least
in.
another decade
Yeah,
of this
exactly
to talk about.
I frankly have no sympathy. They've had
They've had it easy.
They've had it far too easy for far too long over there on basketball Twitter. I frankly say, good luck. Have fun with it. You'll keep the 10-second pregnant pause in there before that, right? Okay.
Especially because that'll be a really, really, really satisfying end.
Right.
To them is
what I was
they'll
saying.
be like, I did have to wait that 10 seconds while he thought about what to say.
Well, I just like the car was driving by out. It threw me off my game. I don't know, guys. Recording at 8 instead of 1.
Josh. As we know here on the baseball corner of the internet, analytics is just a way to describe the eye test. It's just a way to put some quantitative data behind some qualitative observations. These things work in tandem. We don't have to fight each other over them. You guys won the title using analytics, just like any other team that won the title would have used analytics. If you had lost the title, you would have still used analytics.
I won't lie. From that clip, it was not clear to me whether or not he was pro or anti-analytics. Because he just kept saying, I mean, analytically speaking, we lost or we won. And I was sort of like, okay.
Did you see?
But did you actually win or lose? That's kind of all I really care about.
Did you see the Cavs coach after they were down 3-0 to the Knicks? He said, analytically, we're up in the series 2-1 based on shot quality and expected outcome.
Uh-huh.
I was like, even as a numbers guy, like even as a defender of sort of the sabermetric way, I was like, this is high on the list of things you can't say.
That's just crazy. It is kind of cute to see a sport 10 years behind the curve, though.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Like, it actually is very sweet to be like, see people being like, oh, but from a run differential perspective, our team was way better. Like, oh, sweetie, my sweet summer prince.
Right. From an expected runs perspective, we should have won this one game. You know, expected runs, the stat that applies to single games. It's awesome, dude. That's why I said we were waging these wars in the mines.
Exactly. We were paving the way.
Wait, we're introducing paving to this as well?
Oh my god.
So we got to get those big machines down there too, into the mines.
Yeah, the big machines. We are paving the mines.
Dude, it's so annoying when they're paving your road.
It sounds like someone who had their road paved recently, because I would say this is not a regular occurrence for me.
Yeah, I had my road paved.
Okay,
and I'm not afraid to admit it.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Some interesting proposals to discuss across the bargaining table again in the month of June in the year of 2026. MLB, the ownership side, seems dead set on having an existential fight for the future of the league, while the Players Association is dead set on improving the quality of life of most fans. We'll talk about that dichotomy and the PR battle that's being waged over it. Additionally, I went to the great city of Baltimore to attend the great stadium known as Oriole Park at Camden Yards, trademark. And we will discuss that experience as well as do the Tipping Pitches Stadium rankings. Got to come up with a better name for that.
Yeah, we do.
We'll figure that out along the way. But before we do, I am Bobby Wagner.
I am Alex Paisley.
And you are listening to Tipping Pitches. All right, Alex. Another week, another round of proposals. Are you excited to discuss the length of contracts? You look really thrilled to discuss contract length.
I really am, personally. 5 versus 6 years, that's sort of the ultimate question.
It's the question that humans have been trying to answer for thousands of years. Probably.
Thousands of years.
Big difference between those things. You know, it makes a lot of difference.
When I arrive at those pearly gates, I'll say, God,
should I have done 5 or 6 years? And God will say, of what? And you will say, of time with the Los Angeles Angels.
he will say, I think you're in the wrong place. Go down a couple floors.
Man, they gotta make you. Do you think you have to take the stairs when they send you down?
Probably.
All right. Well,
Maybe
we
escalator
can
to
ask the
purgatory.
Jesuits.
Yeah, there you go. Ask the Jesuits.
Okay. We're gonna discuss some actually interesting and maybe surprising, although it shouldn't have been surprising, probably proposals that MLB made, as well as some genuinely surprising news from a proposal that the Players Association made. But we have some news to announce before that about how we intend to cover labor for the rest of the year. The first piece of the news, that's what they say on CNN when the cameras go live. They're like, all right, the first piece of the news.
Here's the first piece.
The first piece of news is that, okay, Alex and I talked like a month ago, and we were like, how do we structure our coverage of labor over the next couple months? Because obviously when the season ends and the CBA expires, it will be the predominant story in the Major League Baseball world. Will we have a 2027 season? You could argue that from the perspective of this show, it is already the predominant story. That's why we lead most shows with it. However, like, I don't know that it's going to be the best form of podcasting to just discuss tiny little proposals every week. When we get a big set of proposals like we did this past week, we will still obviously discuss it in the routine run of show, week in and week out. But for the rest of the season, while games are still going on and we're talking about other things happening in the sport and in the tipping pitches world, we wanted some structure around these. And we wanted to, for lack of a better phrase, level the playing field, which is something that we're going to discuss later that MLB is also interested in doing. We wanted to create a foundation for the discussion as we barrel towards the inevitable lockout at the end of the season. So there's 2 pieces to this. The first piece, I suppose there's 3 pieces. The first piece is that we're just going to keep talking about it when it's a big enough story week in and week out, like I mentioned. The second piece, we're going to do QLRs. That's like QBRs, for all my business heads out there, for all my people listening to this from the Harvard Business Review, for all my MBA heads out there.
This for you, JD Vance.
I'm going to bite my tongue on saying anything about JD Vance because we're not on the Patreon. We're going to do QLRs, quarterly labor reviews. That's a pun on QBR for all my people not at the Harvard Business Review listening to this. That's quarterly business review. Quarterly labor reviews. We are going to, in the manner in which we do every offseason with Michael Bauman, and perhaps Michael will be interested in partaking in some of these. We are going to assess the state of everything that is going on, and we are going to have episodes focused only on that. The first one is coming up in just a few weeks' time for those of my business heads out there. Q2 just ended, so we got to do a quarterly labor review. Q2 is halfway through the year. That's 3 months. These are all things I've learned since
Q2
working
hasn't
at a
ended
company
yet, right?
Well, yeah, by the time people listen to this, it will be ending soon.
Okay, semantics here are really important to me.
Well, and also, you sound like you have some sales goals to hit.
And so as someone who has sales goals, I'm like, it's not over yet, right? Hang on.
You got a Hail Mary sales opportunity that you're trying to close in the next 48 hours? Okay, great. The first one of those is going to be coming in a few weeks. The second, and by second, I mean third, because I changed it to 3 things that we're doing to cover labor throughout the 2026 season. The third thing is probably the most exciting, which is that we are doing on Patreon at our $5 tier. We are doing a series that we are calling Tipping Pitches Audits, in which we conduct extremely deep and fair research into the Major League Baseball teams and how they make money, and maybe how they spend that money, and what they mean when they say we're not making money, and what they mean when they say we're losing money. And the numbers that we know to be actually true, the constants. So we're going to do this for all 30 teams, 3 teams at a time, 10 episodes every other week until the CBA expires. Now, this is going to be on Patreon, like I said, on our $5 tier. So if you are already a member of the $10 tier, you will get this in addition. If you're already a member of the $5 tier, you will get bonus episodes for the first time. This is all explained on patreon.com/tippingpitches. If you have any questions, of course, email us tippingpitchespod@gmail.com. We will release previews of these episodes for the first couple ones so you guys have a sense of what we're doing here and the extent through which we are conducting research. And that's part of why I wanted to do this on Patreon, both because it's a space where we have cultivated a community that is interested in these niche things. And if you want to learn more about how we're covering the sport or how we view the labor landscape and go super deep on that, then great. There's a space for everybody to come in and do that. For everybody who's listening to the pod who's like, I like it when it's breaking news and it comes up naturally in the flow of discourse week to week. You won't have the podcast be only auditing the Major League Baseball teams for the next 5 months. Did I forget anything? How do you feel about audit? You've always wanted to be an auditor, so now we're finally giving you a chance.
Right. I've always wanted to be an auditor. I've always seen myself in the IRS, right? I'm like, finally some representation in the world of thorns in the side on the national stage, right?
I don't view the IRS that way.
No.
I think they're doing fine work.
The dozen of them or so that are left there. I am really excited for this project. It does, in some regards, feel like the accumulation of 7.5, 8, 9 years of doing this podcast.
That was awesome. I was just going to let you keep going. And that's analytics right there.
And that's on analytics. Seriously, this is, I'm excited to do this. We're pulling from the public record everything that's out there. What can we learn about these teams?
Maybe you're pulling from the public record. I'm doing reportage.
That's right, you are. That's right, you are. This is going to hopefully give you and I, Bobby, as well as the listeners, the tools needed to talk about what is actually happening in baseball's economic landscape over the coming weeks and months, and hopefully help you understand what it means when your team's owner comes out and says, we can't afford this player, or we can't afford this thing. We're not going to give you all the answers, but we might point you in the right places to look for those answers. So more to come.
Yeah. Just to give people a sense of what these episodes are going to be like, essentially we're going to start by dumping the research. So things like the revenue streams, payroll, valuation, stadium and public subsidies, cost and profitability, the actual research into the numbers. And then the rest of the episode is going to be spent answering a defined set of questions that we put together for how we want to look at these teams. So the audit is not strictly financial and quantitative, but it is also qualitative in the way that they talk about their financial circumstances and the way that they talk about how they would like to steward their teams, and in general, how the vibe of the team is in comparison to how it's doing financially. Like, that is the goal of this project. And I know I mentioned this before, but just for good measure, like, we will do 3 teams at a time in each of these episodes. And the reason that it will stretch out all the way until December 1st when the CBA expires is because we will continue to do 3 up, 3 down every other week as well. So basically, if you're a patron at the $10 tier, you will be getting an extra episode every week as opposed to every other week. If you are a patron at the $5 tier, you will be getting an episode every other week. Does that make sense?
Makes sense to me.
Semi-monthly, we'll be doing the audit series, and semi-monthly, we will be doing 3 up, 3 down.
Right. Or bi-weekly.
But bi-weekly could be twice a week, and I don't think I could keep up with that pace.
It could, but I'm not talking about twice a week bi-weekly. I'm talking about once every other week bi-weekly. You should have known that from the tenor of my voice. I think I usually give an air of.
What's the difference between? Right, yeah,
you
know, give it an air of every other week. What's the difference between the tenor of someone's voice and the timbre of someone's voice?
Ooh.
And why do you say timbre like that instead of timber? And
a lot,
where does tone
a lot to unpack there?
Where does tone fit into this?
Yes, all very important questions to answer before we get into whether or not there should be freedom of labor movement in Major League Baseball. Tone, very important. More about I think how you position your esophagus. I don't know.
Okay.
The throat. You're the
see, now that sounds like pitch to me. Which wasn't even introduced. Now you're introducing additional concepts.
Jesus Christ.
We'll figure that one out on Patreon, I think.
We'll figure it out on Patreon. Again, we are tipping pitches. We're not tipping tones. We are not tipping timbres.
No, that
God
sounds
forbid.
like a really good a cappella group at a liberal arts school in Ohio.
What happened this week? What are we talking about?
What happened this week? Well, do you want to start with the MLB proposal or the Players Association proposal?
Let's start with MLB's.
So this is from Jesse Rogers at ESPN. Breaking. In its next CBA, the league is proposing a max contract length of 5 years for free agent players switching teams, 6 years to retain their own players. No deferred contracts. Qualifying offer is gone too. Also, 5 years to free agency for players 30 or older. Now, there's a lot of details to this, of course. Some of which MLB tweeted out themselves, which we'll discuss later, this sort of strategy of directly confronting the public with their bargaining strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Passan followed up. Jesse Rogers' ESPN colleague, Jeff Passan. Jeffrey, to you.
Who?
MLB's latest proposal mimics other sports with strict contract limits. Free agents would be limited to a 5-year, $202 million contract. That is 15% of the proposed cap number and would rise. This would make Juan Soto's deal with the New York Mets 3 times that size and 3.8 times the dollar amount of this potential maximum contract. Subsequent reporting revealed that the intention is still to allow teams to extend their players for any contract length, but a free agent contract, meaning a player fully reaches free agency and they are no longer required to be on the team next year, has a limit of 5 or 6 years, depending on if you re-sign with the same team or if you sign with a new team. What is your view on this bargaining proposal?
My view is enjoy all the baseball you can get this year, folks.
So we're sounding the alarm.
This is, look, there's a part of me that wants to say we're still in the opening salvo phase of CBA negotiations. MLB wants to put out the craziest proposals they have in order to sort of set the tone, try and move the Overton window in their direction. But this is crazy. This is an extreme clampdown on labor specifically and the movement of labor. I think you mentioned that this has some precedent in other leagues, especially the notion of giving a slight financial preference to re-signing with your own team as opposed to going somewhere else, right? Essentially capping your free agent value, whether that's 15% or 16% or whatever, right? There's no fair market value in order to compensate for the value that you're creating, right? The most you can get is this sort of arbitrary line. So it feels just so legislated. And to say nothing of the idea of this as a market, right? Like a free market where individuals can perform their best and sell their performances for whatever. Like I don't know. It's just such a reorganization and constricting of the labor market in the sport. I don't see why. I mean, it's no surprise to me that the PA almost immediately came out and said, "What are you guys smoking?"
Quote
Bruce Meyer.
Yeah,
I think I read that in ESPN.
I read that in the New York Post.
Right. Yes.
The quote was attributed to crazy socialist Bruce Meyer. Zoran Mamdani, backed head of Players Association, says MLB owners should go broke. Yeah. So, okay. I probably should have seen this coming because a salary cap in every other league typically comes with a maximum contract
Right.
for individual players, because otherwise you sort of run the risk of a team giving half of their cap to one guy and then not being able to fill out a roster and compete.
Mhm.
You know, that the sort of capping and the formalization of contract amounts, of payroll amounts, means that contract structures must also be formalized, or you run the risk of being in the situation that the NBA was in the 90s when they first developed their maximum contract, and they didn't have as many guardrails about this, and like Michael Jordan could make 50% of the cap or something crazy like that, or new draft picks could sign 10-year contracts before they had played a game. Like, that level of sort of financial mismanagement of the payroll can have decade-long effects on a team that is not restricted from giving those contracts out for whatever reason. Set aside the fact that like these are the owners should be able to
That's
do whatever they want,
on you.
and the players should be able to negotiate for whatever they deserve, which is the current state of things now. But that concept works better in a free market, just qualitatively and then ultimately quantitatively when you look at
Right.
it. Still, when I saw this, I was like, this is the most radical proposal that we have seen in our time covering collective bargaining in Major League Baseball. Nothing even comes close to this.
Yeah.
In terms of the aggression of the financial ramifications of a proposal. Like, the Players Association in the last round of negotiating, they were proposing like, let's take a year off of team control, or like, let's take a year off of arbitration. And like, that will have like for some of the best players in the league, that will have like a $5 million impact on what they make that year. And when you multiply that across the league, maybe there's $50 or $100 million in financial impact year over year, which is a huge amount of money. This proposal will have billions of dollars of impact on how much teams spend, or how much, maybe not how much they spend when you look back on the total amount of time, but how much they guarantee to players. The name of the game in baseball has been get a long contract with a high guaranteed total amount, and then the average annual value is what you're kind of arguing over. And players have been free to negotiate their average annual value down in exchange for a higher total amount, and that helps teams year over year balance their books. This has been the bargain in the market that teams and players have accepted as correct. Now, you can argue, and we have spent a lot of time discussing this concept, that means that players are not valued at the time that they are actually most valuable financially. And that is definitely true. But this doesn't fix that. This just hurts the back end without helping the front end at all. Because they weren't like, well, let's get rid of arbitration, or let's get rid of team control. Let's let them hit free agency immediately and negotiate this 5-year contract. They were just like, let's take away free agency.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. They're trying to reverse engineer a pre-Kurt Flood world, a pre-Messersmith McNally world.
Yes.
Via the salary cap, basically.
Well, they came out and said, right, that these rules would only impact, I think, like 7 players this year, right? Like, only 7 players have contracts that would, under this proposed set of rules, would exceed the proposed max, right? The vast majority of free agents would be unaffected by this sort of thing. And it raises a question then of why it's worth risking a lockout over if only 7 players are going to be impacted by this sort of thing. But I mean,
you can't have it both ways. You can't be like, it doesn't matter, but we're going to change everything.
Right. But I mean, the answer obviously is that like these players are setting the ceiling, right? You're not capping them because they're the problem. You're capping them because they are what is setting the market, essentially. Mm-hmm. So it's
the downstream effects of this is like something that I can't even wrap my head around at all.
I know.
If like the best player in baseball can only make 15% of their cap, which by the way, what was the cap? Like 240 or something like
40,
that? What
yeah, 240, yeah.
And so then the best player can only make 45 thereabouts, 50. Like we've essentially said that nobody can make even close to what the current market for players is, let alone going forward.
It's insane.
And what that will do to the other players trying to negotiate for that is catastrophic for those players, because there's also these structures in place where teams are spending money on younger players, or being forced to spend money on younger players. And so is the Players Association supposed to quit on that too? On what? Good faith that MLB is going to continue to build out the middle of the market? What evidence have we seen that they are interested in doing that?
Right. Well, my question is, okay. Well, then where's the rest of the money going?
Wait, what rest of the money?
Wait a second. If you're cutting $500 million of spending from MLB teams over a handful of years, that's got to be going somewhere, right? I mean, it must be going back to me, the fan, right? My Fanatics jerseys are going to come down in price, and I'm finally going to be able to take my kids out to the ball game or whatever. I recognize that that's kind of the fallacy of this argument, is that they can't admit that there is anything to pocket, because the argument is that like is the exact opposite, that they are paying to play in this pool. But like I'm begging you all, think about it for 2 seconds.
Yeah,
please.
Yes, a series of owners have signed a bunch of contracts that makes it financially unviable for them to run their team.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's what's going on here. Yeah. They continue to somehow get richer and amass more money, and the teams continue to sell for exorbitant sums of money, $4 billion for the Padres. Because why? Oh, because they are losing so much money every year, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, they're losing money. And
now they want to buy. Yeah, you see, everybody wants to buy the team now because they've agreed to pay all this money to these players who don't generate any value.
Wow.
Who aren't selling anything, who aren't providing money year over year to the franchise. And that's why they want to buy the teams.
My EBITDA scorebook is going to come in handy this year at the ballpark. Singles, doubles, I don't care. What's your operating income, brother?
The power of inference is an important one in discussing these topics. We must infer that they are not simply giving Juan Soto a bunch of money because they make no money off of having Juan Soto on the team. Like, we must be able to infer that. In what industry, Alex? Obviously, these numbers are exorbitant, and we know so much about what the players make, and it seems like so much money. It seems like how could the team ever afford to pay these guys this much money? In what industry in America do you look around and you say, ooh, wow, that employer is just the reason that they went under was because they were like, we just couldn't stop paying our employees so much. It's like, you know what, Alex, you didn't even want a raise, but this year we're going to double your salary. Look around at your coworkers. Are they having success going to the boss and asking for a huge raise? And then the boss is like, yeah, I don't want to do it, but just because you asked nicely, I am going to pay you what Juan Soto makes. Like, no, obviously not. Obviously, they are paying what they can afford to pay and still making money on the other end.
Yep.
So this whole, like, we must cap it because we must rein in the evil Dodgers. Like, the Dodgers don't even have that many contracts that violate this rule.
I know. Well, and like banning deferrals. I'm sort of like, you guys are banning the time value of money. Like, what
Banning
is
deferrals is hilarious. Deferrals helps the teams.
Well, I'm straight up. I'm like, MLB discovered discount rate and was like, illegal. That must simply be illegal.
It's really funny to take deferrals out of your proposal because almost certainly they were the ones who initially proposed it in collective bargaining.
Absolutely.
To be like, that's vibes-based economics is what
that is. Vibes-based economics.
That's reading the replies
I
economics.
salute them for it.
That's just being like, what do people think is a bad thing in the economy? It's like,
right, yeah.
It's like when we compare the cost of like eggs, milk, gas, like, and we're like, how's GDP doing? You know, like this is just vibes-based economics.
It's gotten us here, right?
We can't look at things like the pace of wages increasing versus the cost of living. Like we could never look at something like that and say, is the economy doing well? We have to look at, you know, the EBITDA of tech companies and GDP numbers that were invented by 7 guys sitting in a room, probably on meth.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm far more interested in what macadamia nuts Mark Zuckerberg is feeding his cows on his ranch.
Well, since you've mentioned Mark Zuckerberg, did you see the quote this week that he was giving at some tech conference or something? He was being interviewed by somebody, and he gave a quote about how being a tech CEO is not about having a high batting average, because when you hit even once, it has such multiplicative effects. There's basically an endless upside for hitting once on a good idea in tech. And I'm like, type of shit that you say when you've only had one good idea as a tech CEO.
Yeah, the type of shit you say when you're hitting 091, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, yeah, but my hits have multiplicative effects.
I feel like Bartolo coming out and being like, actually, here's why I was a better hitter than Barry Bonds. Because that one home run has been clipped so many times. Awesome to invoke batting average. I love that for him. Mark, come on the Tipping Pitches podcast.
Me when I know nothing about batting average.
Yeah. That's woke analytics is what that was.
It really is.
Batting average for tech CEOs is woke analytics. All right. Should we talk about the Players Association proposal?
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you want to say about max contracts? I guess, wait, before we move on, I do want to say, from the perspective of a human free agent who doesn't extend with his team, is the concept of 5 years versus 6 years, the money being $30 million apart over the course of the 6 years? Like, yes, you can sign for more money with the team that you stay with.
Mm-hmm.
I think the max was like 6 years, 260 or something like that. And the max for if you switch teams is 5 years, 202. Is the difference between 202 and 260 with a whole extra year in there enough to convince you not to sign with the Dodgers instead of, let's just say, the Rays?
Right.
Or
so
the
if I am on the Rays,
or you're on, let's say you're on the Angels,
up
actually.
On free, I'm on the Angels
because the Rays are a competent team.
Yeah. Do I take the $15 million cut over the next 5 or 6 years
to go to a team that very likely will put you in the World Series and make you a lot more money in endorsements? They're taking away, for the sake of saving themselves money in the aggregate, they're taking away their ability to retain individual free agents. They're not actually helping competitive balance at all.
Ultimately, you're sort of splitting hairs when it comes to, do I re-sign with my team? Do I go somewhere else? I don't think the incentive structure is there. I mean, what they are trying to do is prevent players from leaving to sign with the Dodgers, right? Like that is what essentially the goal here.
This is the sign with the Dodgers machine proposal, though. To me. If I somehow make it to full free agency and the choices are between 5 years or 6 years max contracts, like the whole thing of staying with your team, the whole reason anyone would stay with their team is because they get a mega 12-year deal that another team probably is not that likely to give them.
Right.
The Dodgers are not just handing out random 12-year deals to guys that they did not already have in the franchise.
Mm-hmm.
They have handed some out for guys like Ohtani. But for Betts, like they traded for him first. So this doesn't help guys not sign with the Dodgers.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I just get a contract that's 15% of the cap instead of 16. Damn. And I get to be on the best baseball team in history.
And I probably get secretly paid under the table by Guggenheim Management Group.
Right, exactly.
Like this is so naive to me. I mean, maybe it's probably not naive on their part. But it's insulting to fans, honestly. It's insulting to tell them that this is somehow going to prevent the Dodgers from signing guys when this is actually going to make the Dodgers sign more guys. Like their whole move is like, we want to give guys 3-year contracts,
right,
for a high AAV. You know, it's not that different. 3 years and 5 years. Like it just
the PA prop bets. The exact same day, I think, that the MLB proposal came out. The MLBPA came out with their counter proposal to ban all prop bets on individual players. It did caveat that players still be allowed to take endorsement money from these companies, and then some other like administrative disciplinary items. Good idea of a slightly different tenor, I would say, than what MLB proposed on that same day. But a worthy fight to be taking up. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, this is the financialization of the sport is a bad thing, and the MLBPA probably should be on the front lines around the turning of every individual event into like a tradable financial instrument. Things that attract people who want to rig said instruments.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you think that like this is the right tact for the union to be taking? And I don't know the answer. I don't say that because I think that it is not the right approach or anything like that. It was sort of an interesting dissonance to see the proposals come out on the same day. And one is very aggressively targeted at like destabilizing the economic structure, and the other is addressing something very different.
Yeah. So the actual details of this, we don't know. We don't know how they intend to ban it. But from Evan Drellick at The Athletic, the proposal is essentially to create a joint lobbying effort with MLB to help ban prop bets and event contracts relating to in-game individual performance. I can see, again, back to vibes-based economics. This is sort of a vibes-based proposal. The vibe is a large percentage of people don't like how much gambling has encroached on their experience of just trying to watch the game. And this seems like catering to a select percentage of people in an effort to, like you said, financialize the game and make more money, mostly for the owners. But obviously, betting has grown the overall revenue of the pie, which continues to propagate and carry forward player salaries too. Like, this is part of how they make so much money too. All money goes into the same pool that we're pulling from here in this industry. So it's notable that they would propose this because in theory, you could make the argument that this damages their short-term ability to negotiate for more money. If these teams are less liquid from something like the gambling industry, which is floating many industries at this point, sports, media, etc., then yeah, like that's, you could make that case, I suppose, in purely economic sense. But this seems like a more medium and long-term proposal for like the health of the industry, for the quality of life of players who are just getting like constant death threats to them and their family members over, not striking out more than 5 batters in a start or something like that. So it's also interesting though, because players aren't, if I'm understanding how it works, players aren't directly paid when they get bet on. So, for example, like if I place a parlay on DraftKings, which I do just constantly.
All right.
I mean, let's take a quick pause to hear from our sponsors. If I place a parlay on DraftKings or FanDuel or whatever, or if I go to a Poly Market and bet on something, that money, MLB makes a percentage of that. They take that pool of money, and yes, they have to pay the players salary from that pool of money. They have to pay the players a percentage of what they make from these gambling apps and casinos for name, image, and likeness uses, things like this. However, if a bunch more people bet on Kyle Schwarber to homer today, Kyle Schwarber doesn't make more money
Right.
than he would have made if other people don't. So by that token, I think legally speaking, this is not a mandatory subject of bargaining, meaning neither side has to have something about betting in the collective bargaining agreement. Now, there are things about betting in the collective bargaining agreement about what they are and aren't allowed to do, because that affects like the sort of quality of life and workplace environment. They've bargained over these things in the past. But strictly bargaining over the financial aspects of betting, such as this, banning prop bets, banning types of bets, I don't really think that either side is required to do that in the collective bargaining agreement. We got a really good question over email that I sent a very, very long answer to about why the Players Association doesn't propose a mandatory MLB expansion. Like propose that MLB has to add 2 new teams over the course of the next CBA. Because that would create 52 more major league jobs and 80 40-man roster spots, and that would be a huge win for a union to create more jobs. And the answer to that is similar to what we're talking about here with prop bets, which is that MLB is not required to bargain over that. Like that's not a mandatory subject of bargaining to add jobs like that. It's a permissive subject of bargaining, which means they're allowed to talk about it in the CBA. Like there's nothing legally preventing them from committing to adding 2 teams in the next CBA, just like there's nothing legally preventing them from agreeing to not continue to slash the minor leagues over the course of this current CBA. But because they are the capital side, like US labor precedent says that they have these things called management rights, which is things like relocating. So taking your team from, let's just pick a random city like Montreal and moving them to a random city like Washington, D.C., for example. Hiring and firing power, like over your employees. Obviously, you can put in collective bargaining agreements like the process through which a team has to go to fire, but you fire somebody, but you can't say you're not allowed to fire a player or cut a player. Like these are things that in labor law, like the management side is just allowed to do because they own the company. Prop bets, like there's nothing legally requiring MLB to like lobby on behalf of players to do this, or how they lobby on behalf of players to do this. But the Players Association seems to be proposing this as a way of saying, as an olive branch almost to the fans. Like we've seen what has bothered you, and as well as to the players' quality of life and safety. Like we've seen what has bothered you about how quickly this has changed since the last time we collectively bargained. So we are going to put a proposal on the table and put owners in the position of saying no to this out of greed. Like out of a point of saying, no, we just can't turn down this money that we take the lion's share of. And I think it's savvy. I don't know if it will actually break through, because you have to be kind of following closely to really understand the 4-dimensional chess at work here to banning prop bets and how that will affect both sides in a labor negotiation. But if the Players Association is willing to be like, we're trying to do this, we're trying to do that, we're trying to lower the cost of games, we're trying to bring it back to the on-field product, like all these things that I think are good in the long run for the health of the game and good for their sort of political capital, then yeah, I think it's a good strategy. I do.
Yeah, I think all of those are great points. I think this is something that the union like has to be focused on in some regard, right? Like it is such an existential threat to society, but also a threat to integrity of, these massive venues of entertainment that are worth billions of dollars. And I'm not going to pretend that my unlikely allies in this fight against sports betting will be, with folks who want to make sure that their events go off uninhibited. So we'll see how this goes. I do think it's savvy. Will it be enough to overcome Major League Baseball's brilliant public relations plan regarding the CBA? I don't know. We'll see. They have the masters of work over there.
What do you mean, brilliant public relations plan, Alex?
Well, Bobby, you may have seen, certainly some friends of the show, some listeners have seen the various ways in which Major League Baseball is propping up its messaging around this labor fight. That messaging largely runs through a campaign titled, quote, "Level the Playing Field." Right? You want to level the playing field. I know you want to level the playing field, Bobby. This is like sort of a number, like a kitchen table issue for you, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I want to have a beer with the guy who's going to be able to
who's going to level the playing field.
Like, if that's Morgan Sword, so be it. Morgan, let's meet at a local brew pub and talk about how we level the playing field.
They're running ads on MLB TV.
Yeah.
There's a whole ass website. They're running Instagram ads.
They're linking to this at the end of their kind of deranged 8,000 character tweet threads about the proposals that they're putting across the table.
Correct.
They're trying to run the like typical union playbook of being like, here's what we're proposing and here's why it's fair. They're trying to do that from the billionaire side. They're like, we're pretty relatable, right? Like,
right.
They're going to be on our side.
To an audience of like tens of millions of people.
Yeah. But mostly to bots. Most of the people replying to them are like, yes, sir, thank you for this very fair proposal. This will likely make it so that I can bring my 3 beautiful children and wife to the game next year. Whereas prior, I had to stop going to the games that I love so much, sir. Thank you for this proposal. The playing field feels quite level now. I could go all night.
He is for hire, folks. 10 cents an hour.
10 cents an hour. That's competitive in these bot economies.
That's right, it is. I think this is so funny. On the one hand, there is a part of me that thinks there's an element of savviness to it, right? That they want to convert the labor fight into a fairness fight, right? And this is what they have wanted to do for years. What they have done with all of their messaging, right, is like, this is not a fight about who gets how much money, but this is a fight about the fairness of this sport that we all care about and love. And okay, sure, good spin. It becomes really funny because the case is against the best product, right? Like the case is against the Los Angeles Dodgers, the most watched, most profitable, like most recognizable baseball team in the sport right now, right? We want
Yankees found that
less.
in the ditch.
Yeah. We want less of that in our sport, right?
Yeah.
Less Dodgers.
We'd like to land somewhere in like the Twins zone.
Yes, exactly. We're really big AL Central heads. All love to all my AL Central fans out there.
Like you saw what was getting down, how Big Bob Nutting was getting jiggy with it in Pittsburgh. Like, let's recreate that. MLB is saying death to Guggenheim for different reasons than you and I.
It just feels like such a bold play to assume that like you and I are going to be in the group chats being like, bro, you see that new like IG post that MLB just dropped? MLB's like losing mad money.
Yeah. Big problems need big solutions.
Exactly.
Okay. So for everyone not looking at the same website that we're looking at, MLB, it's literally on MLB's website, MLB.com/level the playing field. I'm not going to link it in the description because frankly, I don't want you to go spend any time on there because it's propaganda. But if you're
curious, don't want
the
playing field to be leveled, right? Exactly.
To look it up. It's I have to be honest. It is like sort of generated by Claude vibes to this web page. AI was definitely utilized in this process. It's short and sweet. Baseball has gotten stronger because we listened to the fans and made necessary changes on the field, like the pitch clock to quicken the game and ABS challenge to get the most important calls right. Two things that don't have anything to do with economics.
Right.
The biggest issue we need to solve next to continue to grow the game off the field is fixing the payroll disparity unseen in any other major U.S. sport. Ultimately, the game is about hope and competition. Too many fans and markets across the game have too little hope that their team has a fair chance to win. Fans overwhelmingly support a salary cap and floor, like all the other major American professional sports have long used, because they don't believe a $446 million spending gap, which is what they are claiming is the current spending gap, from top to bottom is a fair fight. Really convenient, by the way. I just need to stop right there for a second. Really convenient to include the competitive balance tax that the Dodgers are already paying to give to the other teams as the spending gap. That's not what they're spending on players. They're spending that on giving you guys the money.
They're spending that on the Marlins and the Rays and the Pirates. Like, come on.
Crazy town. Our salary cap and floor proposals level the playing field while sharing baseball revenue with the players 50-50 as we grow the game together. Further, by sharing media revenue equally as part of our proposal, we can address another top fan concern of local TV blackouts. We look forward to working with the MLBPA during the bargaining process to continue improving the game for the fans. It's time to level the playing field. And then they have a little video down here of a bunch of fans and MLB people saying what they want them to say. There's other tabs on the website. That was just the overview. There's a how it works section where they go over in depth their proposal on the salary cap and floor, the 50-50 split of the revenue, centralizing media revenue and the revenue sharing changes that they're going to be making. There's an FAQs section, and there's a section on news coverage of their proposals, which I assume they think is favorable to them. Boy, this is an interesting one. They're going the indoctrination route. I want to drill in before we go to the FAQs because I think it's actually quite interesting.
They are really. That's where I am right now.
The FAQs are awesome. Just as a little amuse-bouche before the FAQs, I'd like to drill in on the two words that they used as why they need to do this. The two motivating factors. Hope and competition. In the National Basketball Association, do the Sacramento Kings have hope when the season starts?
No. We used to have
Kings.
hope.
We used to have Bob.
We used to have competition.
Prior to last season, Charlotte Hornets have hope. Do the New Orleans Pelicans have hope at competing, despite having the same pool of resources to work with? Despite receiving one of the all-time generational first overall picks, Zion Williamson, do the New Orleans Pelicans have hope at competing? Are they in a better situation than if they could spend their way out of the problem, if they got a new rich owner? No.
Are you asking me that? Oh, okay. All right. I don't know.
Do the Chicago Bulls have hope for 2027? One of the richest franchises in all of sports. A storied franchise that should be the most hopeful because of decades and decades of stewardship of Jerry Reinsdorf. Do they have hope for next season? No. Bro, this has nothing to do with hope. This has everything to do with having an excuse to not spend more than a defined amount of money so that everything you make beyond that is pure profit.
Yeah.
And to not have to shoulder any financial risk in order to be profitable, which allows you to not have to compete in order to win, in order to make more money because you've created new fans by winning and putting a good product on the field.
Mm-hmm.
You're just guaranteeing yourself a paycheck with this system.
I just see them literally offloading or outlawing any measure of risk across the development spectrum. right? They're basically saying Major League Baseball teams will only be responsible for like your performance between you when you're 21 and 29 or something. Like
Right.
Everything beyond those bands, it's a little up in the air. I'm not gonna lie. Anything before that is all colleges, and anything after that, if you can get a contract, good luck.
5 years.
5 years. I don't know. I think they're trying really hard to distill their argument down into parity, right? The goal here is we need a simple argument. And frankly, you know what I think it's a bet against? I think it's a bet that there's not an enterprising young podcast out there who's willing to do the work of going through all 30 Major League Baseball teams and find out whether or not they're actually losing money. I think that's what they never considered.
They never factored in the power of patreon.com/tipping pitches MLB audit series.
I'm always saying this.
The truth is they have factored it in and they just don't give a shit.
Yeah, exactly.
But who does give a shit? You listening to this podcast. Go check it out. Link in the description. Which FAQ do you want to spend some time talking about? Should we save the rest of the FAQs for Patreon later in this week?
Probably.
Because we got to do the stadium rankings.
Oh fuck, you're right. Yeah. Can we address this one question real quick?
Okay. And we'll do the rest on Patreon.
Bobby, under a salary cap, do superstars get paid and everyone else gets what's left over?
I'm so glad you asked, Alex.
That's the question, frankly, everyone is asking. This is the word on the street.
This has extreme, this whole FAQ section has extreme, my daughter walked up to me, my 4-year-old daughter walked up to me and said, Daddy, why do the MLB superstars get paid and then everyone else gets what's left over?
Exactly.
And I said to them, MLB's current system works this way and has produced the greatest salary disparity of the 4 major sports. And she said back to me,
Ruth Conda forever.
Exactly.
I just really frequently asked questions. This is frequently coming up.
We had to take the mail submission form down from the website because too many people kept asking, under a salary cap, do superstars get paid? And everyone else gets what's
under
left
a salary cap. Are superstars too swaggy? Under a salary cap, is MLB going to be too based?
Will the escrow system under a cap mean the end to guaranteed contracts?
This proposal is not an end to guaranteed contracts shirt.
As people asking many questions that lead my 4-year-old daughter to say Ruth Conda forever. Incredible stuff. All right. We'll do the rest of the FAQs on Patreon on 303 Down this week. Let's quickly do a tier ranking for all the baseball stadiums that we've been to. I went to Camden Yards this week. And that's the sort of precipitating incident for us running through these. I believe that was 20 out of 30 for me now. So I'm officially 2/3 of the way through.
And that's analytics.
Although 20 out of 30 counts the Oakland Coliseum as one of the 30 because the A's don't really have a real stadium yet. So I'm just going to count that because we are going to try to go to Sutter Health, but I don't think that technically counts for my goal of going to all 30 baseball stadiums. I think that will reset the A's proportion of this equation, and I will have to then go to Las Vegas to recheck off the A's, which is really stupid. But I didn't make that choice. So I think that's 20 out of 30 for me. I just got to say, we can start by placing Camden Yards on our little tier maker here. Do you want to go off the S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier, like this sort of model of ranking, like the internet way of doing it?
Of course. Are we doing a collective?
Yeah.
Tiering?
I think we could come together on this.
Okay. All right. We can put our differences aside. like how you think that the escrow system under a cap is going to mean the end to guaranteed contracts, and I don't.
I'm not as concerned about escrow, and I am way more concerned about the health of EBITDA.
I know you are.
And they don't have an FAQ here for EBITDA.
They
health,
don't.
so
They don't.
they're not meeting the moment.
We're not asking frequently enough, I think.
I think you're right. Yeah, we got to start writing handwritten letters. I think we could safely say that Camden Yards is S tier as a ballpark.
I'll allow it. I agree.
You'll allow it. Okay, you're already putting up a fight. So much for the spirit of collaboration that you were so committed to.
I agree. At S tier, I'm down.
I just had a great time. I went on Friday and I went on Saturday. Friday was their Pride night. They gave away a Pride Orioles jersey, which was wonderful.
This is so they bought your vote, in other words.
Correct. They bought my vote with pandering to the woke crowd. No, it was awesome. The whole ballpark was transformed. It was a pretty lively crowd for the Orioles being where they're at the moment, which is not the best baseball team with not a lot of bright spots on the roster.
Mm-hmm.
They're like superstar who's eating up all of the money and taking it away from everybody else. Just kidding. Their superstar young player, Gunnar Henderson, not having the best season that you could have imagined for him thus far. Some, interesting little silver linings dotted throughout the rest of the roster. But the ballpark is what everybody says it is. It's beautiful in the sense that it is built directly into the buildings surrounding it. It's right there close to the water. As we have discussed, it reinvigorated the concept of a downtown ballpark and building a ballpark that is part of the centralized urban area of the city that they are located, rather than 20 miles outside of the city, like a lot of stadiums tended to do from the 50s all the way to the 90s. Aside from that, just like architecturally quite interesting. It's a lot of hard angles, rather than like a semicircle. It's like almost like hexagonal how the ballpark is laid out. So it creates intriguing sightlines.
God,
I thought
love a hexagonal ballpark.
You do love it. No, you don't. You love the Coliseum.
I know I did.
Coliseum
is number one on the list that I wrote down in preparation for this.
Of course you did. And I just think that they've cracked a great thing with Utah Street. They've really got a good thing going out there with just a street being included inside the ballpark experience.
Yeah.
And it feeling like a street, but simultaneously you do get a peek inside of the field. Also underrated part about Camden Yards, which I had not heard as many people talk about, the fact that on the lower level, you can kind of walk around the whole stadium, like inside the ring of the ballpark, inside the seats. That's pretty dope.
Yeah.
Not a lot of ballparks doing stuff like that. They're more often like restricting your access to parts of the park that you aren't sitting in. And Camden did not feel like that. Plus, like the coup de grace, they got Rita's there, dude. They got Rita's water ice.
Oh, yeah.
You don't know nothing about that.
I know nothing about this.
Yeah, you know nothing about that.
I know nothing. Not a
Me
damn
smashing
thing.
a gelati in the 7th inning of an Orioles 3-1 or 4-3 loss against the Nationals. Like that's what heaven is made out of.
All right. So Camden Yards, S tier.
Yeah. Thanks to the fine folks of the Baltimore area for welcoming me.
Who are your other S tier picks?
I watched the game along with David Rubenstein in his box. That's why I loved it so much.
I know you did. I wasn't going to mention it, but if you're putting it out there, that's fine.
Who are the other S tier picks? So you want to start at the top and go to the bottom?
How were you started? You started with a team at the top, so I assume that's where we were going.
Well, that was the news pick. I was starting.
I see. Okay.
I suppose we should say, for the sake of the listeners, the ones that we haven't been to: Cleveland, Minnesota, Milwaukee,
both
Chicago White Sox,
both Texas stadiums,
Rays,
Braves, Blue Jays,
correct,
Tigers.
So all the Midwestern ones.
Right, yeah. All the flyover states.
That's 9.
Have you been to Cardinals?
Have you?
No.
Okay, so
So
that's
all the
ones-
rest are one or both you and I have gone to
Correct.
among the rest of the teams.
Have you been to any of the stadiums that I haven't been to? No, right?
Those all the ones you named. So you've been to like D-backs and Mariners and stuff.
Oh, D-backs I haven't been to. So that means I've only done 19.
Whoa.
I lied to the audience. Okay, so those are the ones that we can rank. Did you go to D-backs?
Yeah.
All right, so we can rank them. This is great. It's going great.
This is going really well.
Okay, now that we've established those, let's power through. Where would you put D-backs then? Let's just start there.
Like probably a B.
Okay. So not all the way at the bottom.
So not all the way at the bottom. It's fine. It's in the middle of the desert. It has a roof. It has a swimming pool. And I suppose on some days it has people playing baseball there. So, it'll do. It gets the job done.
Okay, great. As a way of hoping to structure this, let's actually just go in alphabetical order.
We're building the plane in real time as we fly it.
A's.
Referring to which stadium?
The last Major League Baseball stadium that they played in, the Oakland Coliseum.
I mean, Coliseum is S tier in my book. That's just the answer. I'm sorry.
Can I ask, do you actually believe that?
Yes.
Okay, make the case. I would put it A.
Why do you go to a baseball stadium?
To create shareholder value.
I personally go there to watch a baseball game. I can stand outside the Coliseum. Like I can stand in the area where you hand your tickets in and see a direct line into the field. Like it's right there. It's a big bowl. That thing you were talking about with the Orioles stadium with Camden Yards. You walk around it. You can do the exact same thing at the Coliseum. This feels like a moot and frankly even sad point at this point. Like it's sort of just like letting the old guy go on about how things were in the old days. And you know what? I guess I'll accept that. It's a badge of honor.
I personally would put it as an A tier stadium. I think it's hard to make the case that it's an S, that any stadium where part of the stadium is closed because it's actually a football stadium and they can't fill it out with fans is an S tier baseball stadium.
Okay. But that feels besides the point. That's not the team's fault.
No one's saying it's the team's fault.
I don't know.
Blaming...
Having been there when it's full.
Yeah. Pretty rocking.
It's pretty sick. It's pretty sick.
You know what?
We're arguing over where to place a baseball team that no Major League Baseball team will ever play in again. So like
I'm gonna let you have this
rankings
one.
going
S-tier.
great.
It'll be better for the graphic that we make for this. More people will be like, "What are you talking about?" Okay, Braves we haven't been to. Orioles we already placed. Fenway Park, Boston Red Sox.
S.
Totally agree.
Easy.
Feels inarguable, as well as the next one, which is the Chicago Cubs Wrigley Field.
A tier.
Ooh. So okay. Your mind has changed about this then, because when we did the Fenway pod, you said, I loved it. I still prefer Wrigley Field.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you've changed your mind. What's changed inside you?
I can't stand going to Wrigley Field, and everywhere I turn, people are like, yo, have you been to Pardon My Cheesesteak yet? And I'm like, yes, I'm going there after the game. Please just hold. No, Wrigley is extremely fun. They are essentially the same stadium with just like different types of the same type of people occupying it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's like East Coast Midwesterners and Midwestern Midwesterners, you know?
Wow, the people of Boston are gonna be at your neck. I like Fenway better because it's weirder. Wrigley is obviously weird. Like the brick wall and the ivy is pretty strange. But outside of that, the dimensions of the park and the vibe of the park still do resemble most current ballparks. Fenway, the monster is one thing, but right field in Fenway is what really sold it for me, where I was just like, they're playing a different game out there.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing a different thing strategically out there, and the ballpark has to bend to accommodate that. I also, maybe this is just aesthetics, frankly, because like the Red Sox have done the same thing to the area surrounding Fenway. It feels more authentic than Wrigleyville.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it seems like Wrigleyville used to feel that way. My perception of it is that Wrigleyville used to feel that way and doesn't anymore. Because of the changing
they got
nature
rid
of Chicago.
the DraftKings sportsbook. Yes, I know. There goes the neighborhood.
Exactly. So, okay, I suppose we're putting Wrigley Field in A tier.
No, put it in S tier. It's fine. You gave me the Coliseum.
Great hot dogs at Wrigley.
Yeah,
Great
this
hot
guy
dogs
likes
at Wrigley.
Chicago hot dog.
I love a Chicago dog. Okay, White Sox neither of us have been to. Somehow you've never bothered going across the city and seeing a game at Rate Field to make sure it's not guaranteed. So we can't rank that. However, I can rank the Cincinnati Reds, which is Great American Ballpark. And I'm going to say this is an A.
Sounds like good American ballpark to me then.
No, it sounds like Great American Ballpark.
Just not
if
best
it were an
American
S tier, it would
ballpark.
be
okay.
Superior American Ballpark. A couple things about Great American Ballpark. Cincinnati chili, delicious. And anyone who says otherwise is an enemy of the state, aka the Tipping Pitches podcast. That's you, Steve Gelbs. Beautiful view of the Ohio River. Hitters Ballpark, open air, just good vibes all around. When I'm there, I feel the presence of Joey Votto all around me. Good ballpark. Cleveland Guardians, neither of us have been to, though I am going in 4 days. So I'll let you know next week.
Hell yeah.
Colorado Rockies. You've not been here.
Not yet.
I think this is also another S tier.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I'm priming myself for.
I mean, kind of similar to Cincinnati in the sense that it's like an open air, beautiful vibe. Although I've only been there once. So maybe we keep it in the A tier.
T.
And we reserve
Until-
room for it to impress us at the August 22nd Tipping Pitches meetup.
I agree.
Please fill out the form in the description. Tigers we haven't been to. Astros we haven't been to. Royals.
The problem is that I think most baseball stadiums are S tier, actually. I think that's where I'm sort of coming down, is that baseball stadiums are good because you want to know what's fucking great is going to baseball stadiums to watch baseball. You want to know what's a great stadium? Kauffman Stadium.
You want to put Kauffman in the S tier? That's
no,
awesome.
but it's probably A tier, kind of without it. I don't think it's any lower than that.
How can you enjoy baseball when under a salary cap superstars get paid and everyone else gets what's left over?
I always forget about that, and thank you for calling me in.
It's
Because
so
that is what's
insensitive for
needed.
you to say that Kauffman is S tier when Bobby Witt Jr. is getting paid what he gets paid and everyone else is getting what's left over.
Kauffman
right,
Stadium, A tier. A tier.
I'll ride with you, Kauffman Stadium A tier. The next is the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, which is easily C tier. Everything that you just said about baseball stadiums is proved wrong by the experience of going to an Angels game. The potentially federally bribed parking lot that is almost always empty sets you off on the wrong foot. You get inside, then there's fake mountains. Why is that there? Never really got a functional explanation for that question. It's just not a good experience. It's not a good experience. Dodgers.
A?
No, dog. No, dog. This is the assiest of S tiers.
That's fine. That's acceptable.
S. This is number one for me. Still.
Is it actually?
Yeah.
That's fair.
Marlins, we put them in C, right? Lone Depot.
Mm-hmm.
Neither of us have been to Brewers. Neither of us have been to Twins. The New York Mets. There's There's
Look.
a coy smile across your face.
Look. It's not lower than a B. That's for sure.
Whoa.
It's
Whoa.
also not higher than an A.
No, I agree. I think it's an A. I would make the case for A. It's not S, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is effectively on the same level of most of sort of the new era stadiums of the last 20 years, right?
Until it
It's
gets the casino.
until
it's
it gets
S
to
tier.
casino, and then it's S tier. Yeah.
I will not accept Citi Field as a B, frankly. With the other teams that we have given B, which is at this point just the Diamondbacks. Now, Yankee Stadium, the next stadium on the docket, we could talk about it. Them getting a B. No way.
Yeah, they're B tier.
You want to put it in the S?
No,
I suppose
no.
the true spirit of compromise would have been if you wanted to say S and I wanted to say B, then it would have been an A tier.
No, I think Yankee Stadium, the stadium itself, B.
I think the team, the organizational vibe, the pomp and circumstance, I do think is probably A or S, but
Yeah.
the stadium is not. The stadium
Correct.
is genuinely poorly constructed.
Right. The question is, if you plopped any general, like generic team and fan base down in there, would it feel as electric? The answer is no. Not even close.
Agreed. Philadelphia Phillies.
A.
I would argue for B for them.
Why is it worse than Citi Field?
Because the Phillies play there.
It's the exact same stadium.
All right, fine. You're right. We're going to put this list together. It's going to be no teams in the B tier.
Exactly. No, we can't decide.
It's just going to be the 2001 World Series in the B tier. Pittsburgh Pirates.
You tell me.
Oh, right. You've never been. You know, I think a lot of people would say S. I think it's an A.
Okay, you're going to zag right now.
Yeah, I am going to zag. It's not like I'm trying to insult the stadium. It feels even worse coming off giving the Phillies and Mets an A. And be like, Pirates, the only thing they have going for them, it's about the same as the other franchises. I think it's really good. And I really had a great time. Again, caveat, I've only been once. One game. But like, it wasn't on the level of Dodger Stadium to me.
Right.
It's really solid, though. San Diego Padres.
Wait. So what? Sorry, what was the grade?
A.
Oh, A tier. Okay.
We're giving such friendly grades to all of these.
There are no fine baseball stadiums. There are baseball stadiums which are good,
Yep.
and bad baseball stadiums.
That's why I didn't want to have F.
I know. What's next, Padres? That's an A.
I think it's an S. When I'm in there and I'm like, yo, shout out Peter Seidler, shout out Joan Kroc, two of our ownership legends gone too soon.
Yeah. I hear you on that. I mean, I think it's partially the locale in which they play, right? I
Is
think if
good
you
or bad?
is good. I think if you plot that stadium down into any random city, it's probably an A stadium.
Well, so this was my big takeaway, though, is that I felt that when I was in Camden Yards, I felt the exact same way as I felt when I was at Petco.
Right.
I felt the energy was very similar, like the street entrance, the sort of outdoor center field view vantage point feels very similar. I was like, this is like Camden Yards West.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, S.
I think so. We'll reassess at the end.
We will.
Giants.
A, I guess. We still have D-backs in the B tier.
Yeah, we do. And
Okay.
Yankees.
And Yankees. Okay.
You think it's like Giants are A? I think that's right, I guess. Mariners. Have you been?
Yes. Long time ago. Long time ago. not at the age where I was thinking about how does this work as a stadium. I was sort of like, why is he not giving me an autograph right now? So
maybe it might be a Zag. I think it's a B. Yeah, I think it's a B. I think people really like the Mariners Stadium, but like, I don't know.
It's fine. Whoa, the roof goes both ways? That's crazy.
Cardinals, Rays, Rangers, and Blue Jays we haven't been to, and that leaves just one team, Washington Nationals. They also feel like a B.
Agreed. But I really like their stadium. It feels to me like Baltimore Orioles 50 miles southeast or whatever, wherever DC is.
Wow, you tried to broach the geography question. That's surprising to me.
It is actually kind of a really good stadium in terms of like accessibility from transit perspective. It has the very same thing where you like walk from the street and then all of a sudden you're just like inside the stadium. I'm willing to give it a B because of the room there labeled IDF room, but otherwise, all else aside,
I think that it's a perfectly nice, effectively laid out ballpark with not a lot of swag. You know, it'd be like if you took all of the aura away from Camden Yards, but you still had the functionality of it.
You dropped a bunch of lobbyists into it.
Well, yes. Yes and no. I think that the Nats fans or like the DC residents have sort of taken on the Nats as their fun night out on the town. Let's just see a nice ball game.
Let's see how condescending we can be. I think they've taken it as like a cute little thing that they have over there in their 51st state.
I don't blame the fans for the vibe vacuum that's going on at Nationals Park. I kind of blame the ownership. Like, there's not a lot of like, there doesn't feel like a lot of like earned tradition to the experience of being at a Nats game. Part of this is because they're one of the newest franchise. Another part of this is because the DC lobbyist problem in question. A third part of this is that they've just turned over the team so many times. So like there's not a lot to hold on to year over year. Which I think presents a problem and I think makes the stadium a little bit lesser than. You're right though that it feels a little bit dissonant between S and B for Camden and Nats Park, which feel built of the same mold. But I do think it's a testament to how much if you don't have all parts moving together, then you can really kind of whiff. That said, I'd like you to maybe reassess Diamondbacks as B tier, which is the same as Nats now, and Yankee Stadium, and Mariners Park, which is called T-Mobile.
You think it's down? You think it moves down?
I mean, I've never been, so you're well within your rights to keep it where it is. But what I've heard, okay.
The stadium that players can't play at because they just get cramps.
That fans keep being like, I hate this stadium, even fans of the Diamondbacks. Okay. Orioles S, A's S, Red Sox S. Off to a strong start. Cubs S, Reds A, Rockies A, Royals A, Angels C, Dodgers S, Marlins C, Mets A, Yankees B, Phillies A, Pirates A, Padres S, Giants A, Mariners B, Nats B, Diamondbacks C. It's perfect.
It feels right.
I wouldn't change a single thing. And anyone who has qualms, I invite you to message us on Patreon, patreon.com/tippingpitches. Pay us $5 before complaining about our list. That'll get you access to our new Tipping Pitches Audits series if you'd like everything, including the Audits series and 3 Up, 3 Down, which we have been doing for years now on Patreon at this point. That is at our $10 tier. You can read more about it at patreon.com/tippingpitches. Thank you for listening. Thank you for frequently asking insightful questions about Major League Baseball's fight to level the playing field. And thank you for waging wars in the mines. That was a bit we did like 2 hours ago, right?
I think so.
Thank you for waging wars alongside us in the minds of the discourse. Any final words for our diligent listeners?
What I'll leave everyone with is this. Actually, if you feel like leaking any financial documents from the 30 Major League Baseball teams to us,
any of them, we'll take them
just
all.
any. It kind of doesn't matter. I don't care what it is. It could be the receipts for all of Tom Pollad's like Subway orders. Like I don't care. I genuinely don't care what it is. He's a big Subway guy.
Is he?
Post Jared though.
Thanks for confirming that. Eat fresh. Remember that time we tried to go to Subway for a $5 foot long after the Mets struck out 10 and they said no, we don't.
And he was like, I don't observe that.
He goes, you know that part at the end of the offer where they say participating stores only? We're not a participating
We
store.
found a non-participating store. Look, stay woke, my friends. Keep an eye out. Keep an eye out there for those non-participating stores.
Couldn't
They'll
have
get
said it
you.
better myself. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you later this week on Patreon.
Hello, everybody. I'm Alex Rodriguez. Tipping pitches.
Tipping pitches.
This is the one that I love the most.
Tipping pitches.
So we'll see you next week. See ya!
Going stand today.
I'm going stand today. I can't do this.
Wow. Folks, he's mad as hell and he's not going to take it anymore.
I need to be hands-free for this.